Whoopi Goldberg and the hags of The View think America is worse than Iran. The WNBA is once again proving why it's a failed enterprise. And apparently people are going broke buying some little doll thingy called a Labubu. It's time for my losers of the week. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to the show on YouTube at Tomi Lahren is Fearless. The show starts now. Oh, what a week it's been, y'all. We've had more Democrats getting arrested on purpose for clout, with their attention-seeking moronic antics rivaling, but not eclipsing, the dumbest show on television. Ladies and gentlemen, The View.
And it's slow.
But let's just remember, too, the Iranians literally throw gay people off of buildings. They don't adhere to basic human rights.
Listen, here's the thing. Let's not do that, because if we start with that, we have been known in this country to tie gay folks to the car.
But where the Iranian regime is today in 2025 is nothing compared to the United States.
Hanging black people. So
it is not even the same. I couldn't step foot during this.
Wait. That's not what you mean to say. It is the same.
No, it's not. The year 2025 in the United States is nothing like if I step foot wearing this outfit in Toronto.
I'm sorry.
I can't have my hair showing. I can't wear a skirt. I can't have my arms out.
I'm telling you,
I literally said it was up to the Iranian people.
Yes,
it is up to them.
And that's why I am saying that it is the same. Murdering someone for their difference is not good, whoever does it. It's not good. So that's why I said you weren't saying what I heard was not what you meant.
I think it's very different to live in the United States in 2025 than it is to live in Iran.
Not if you're black.
Not for everybody.
Not if you're black.
Guys, don't go to Tehran. Do not anyone at this table.
And I think what's even more disturbing, the folks in the audience who were clapping for that crap. But yeah, you did just hear Whoopi and the two other buffoons at the table try to convince Alyssa and you at home, well, you're not dumb enough to watch The View, but anyway, those who watch the clip on X to mock it, that Iran and America are, equally as oppressive. Whoopi going so far as to say, if you're black in America in 2025, you know what it feels like to live under an oppressive Muslim fundamentalist dictatorship. Whoopi is dumber than a box of rocks, but if you ever are feeling down on yourself, just remember there are indeed still some people who watch The View for political guidance. But speaking of a few women destroying things, my next loser this week is a repeat offender. It's the WNBA. They are still apparently trying to metaphorically murder their golden goose, Caitlin Clark. As you can see, they are once again blatantly beating up on Caitlin Clark, the league star player and only reason the still very small audience watches the WNBA. Why the league will not stand up for her and say enough is enough, I'm not quite sure. But hey, if the WNBA was good at making business decisions, they'd be profitable and wouldn't need to be subsidized by the NBA. But at any rate, I actually do struggle to stand up for Caitlin Clark, though. At least with my whole chest, and here's why. She has bent the knee to the woke mob. She's decried her white privilege, and she has sold her soul to the left in the name of white guilt. So now, black or white, her competitors feel totally entitled to beat up on her because she'll just take it. She's kowtowed to her bullies for social justice points and to be friends with Taylor Swift. And just as I've long said, they still hate her, and they always will. So, you know what? She's kind of on her own now. Switching gears to my last pick for the week. Now, this selection is somewhat in jest. I don't really think this newest toy obsession is the worst thing going on planet Earth right now, but it is still rather perplexing. It's the Labubu dolls. Now, I had to look up what the hell these things actually are. I did it for you, so you're welcome. But apparently, these little weird-looking dolls are the latest thing, the Beanie Baby of this generation, I guess. They are figurine plushy things. Some are also used as bag charms, but the idea originated from a storybook characters that took off when Chinese toy company Pop Art started selling them in 2019. And life-size renditions of them are now popping up at ICE protests, which is pretty stupid. But apparently people around the world are collecting these things. They wait in line for hours to get them, and they resell them online for as high as 6 figures. That's pretty stupid. Some people are even going broke buying and collecting these things. But it just goes to show people will literally buy anything and for a lot more than they should. I will not be in the market for a Labubu anytime soon. But let me ask the political editor for the Daily Signal, Bradley Devlin. Bradley, do you know what a Labubu doll is, and will you buy one?
Tomi, I actually was invited on the show to try to sell you a Labubu doll. Don't you see? They're so cute. They can sit creepily on your mantle. I mean, what the heck is this? And of course, there's like a Chinese toy company turned into a furry suit standing there in the middle of the LA riots. I'm sure the Chinese toy company would love nothing more than for ICE to get the heck out of Los Angeles.
There's really nothing good that comes from the Chinese Communist Party. You know, we got TikTok, the Labubu dolls. It's head scratching for real. But there's a lot more going on. I have to go back to that clip of Whoopi Goldberg. Okay. I can't believe people still watch this show. I can't believe it's still on the air. Now, I thought actually that ABC Disney asked the ladies of The View to maybe pull back some of their idiocy, because it's like, listen, we're tanking. Like, we can't continue to do this. But they didn't get that message, so they're continuing on. And as I played that clip, I know Whoopi Goldberg is stupid, right? I know she's not going to be giving me political guidance anytime soon. But what I was actually more disturbed by, the people in the audience, that as she was saying these things, they're like, yeah, you go, girl. What's going on here? And do you think she really believes those things about Iran and black people in America? Or does she just say the dumbest thing possible so that it will go viral on social media?
Yeah, Tomi, I really wonder how much of The View's ratings are just people who accidentally left the TV on as they were leaving for work after watching the local news in the morning. As long as we're doing this whole one-way ticket to El Salvador thing, maybe we should expand that. Maybe we should expand the program. Maybe that should be part of the Iranian nuclear deal that President Trump is trying to force. Maybe we just send the cast of The View with a one-way ticket to Tehran, and they can do the broadcast from there. I'm sure they will love it. I also wonder behind the cameras if there's one of those big flashing applause signs, because no one in their right mind would applause for this. Everyone knows it's a false equivalency, but this is exactly what happens when your brain is rotten by this critical race theory nonsense that turns everything into struggles of power and oppression based on race, because there is truly no limitation and there's no framework for you to decide what is a better society or what are better values and what is a worse one. All of it just becomes political power to smash over the head of your political opponents. And that's what Whoopi Goldberg is really mad about. That's what she actually wants. That's what the people like Nicole Hannah-Jones actually want. That is the 1619 Project embodied. It is to take American history, weaponize it, and smash it over the heads of a white Protestant Christian culture. That's just what it is.
Yeah, and the people in the audience, if you actually go to sit in as a studio audience member, I think that you've already maybe have some issues. I would personally like to just go because I would like to see it. You know, it's like watching a car crash. But they get worse and worse every year, and since President Trump was reelected, it's obviously broken their brains beyond repair. But we know Whoopi's like that. The fact that the rest of them, though, sit there and they're like, yeah, you know, there's hate crimes in America. It's just like the government of Iran and how it oppresses its own people and is a Muslim fundamentalist country that wants to kill all Jews and all Americans. Same thing. Like, it really calls into question the people that are producing that show. Like, they've got to be sitting back there like, we know this is bad, but we're just doing it anyway. It's kind of like the people that, I guess, produce Love Island. Love Island is a step above. If I'm being honest, I think that the intellectual capacity on Love Island might be a few tiers above ABC's The View. But I just don't understand how people producing this are like, this is good.
Yeah, and Tomi, when you posted the full clip, I watched it. I hate watched it, of course. But this is so funny because later on in that exchange, Joy Behar says, Whoopi, let me step in and try to explain this for you, which is the perfect encapsulation of Joy Behar's entire career. She actually says, just try to put yourselves in the shoes of Black Americans. Well, Joy Behar, you've tried to do that several times with your blackface, haven't you? I mean, it is just the perfect encapsulation of Joy Behar's total modus operandi, trying to white knight and say, you know, I'm this reformed boomer who's just watching our country decline, all because my generation, frankly, doesn't know when to quit and doesn't know what time it is.
And they're largely the ones that go out on the streets for these No Kings protests. It's these boomers who are reliving their glory days. They're just so sad. I mean, get a few cats or something. At least do something worthwhile. Rescue an animal. That's a better use of your time and energy. I want to talk a little bit about the WNBA. I got to be honest with you. The outrage over, oh, they're going after Caitlin. Like, I get it, but people still don't really care that much about the WNBA. I actually get frustrated when people say, like, oh, everyone's watching because of Caitlin Clark. No, everyone's not watching. More people are watching. The WNBA is still a failed enterprise. But the other night, I mean, it was just essentially a brawl. Like, they just started fighting each other. And I actually think that that's strategic, because I think more people will tune in to watch the WNBA if these girls are fighting each other. And maybe they're in on it. You know, maybe we just don't understand that that's exactly why they're doing it, because they're like, listen, this is like WWE. People will watch us if we fight each other and we attack Caitlin Clark. But like I said in my open, I have a little bit of a hard time feeling too badly for Caitlin Clark. I know she's being targeted. I know they hate her. I know they're jealous of her. But she doesn't stand up for herself. So, you know, at some point, maybe we got to just let nature take its course.
Tomi, I didn't know this about Caitlin Clark kowtowing to left, and I thought the point that you made was it doesn't matter what you do, they all are still going to hate you, because at the end of the day, that's not what this is about. It's not your moral purity. It doesn't matter if you have science is real, love is love sign in your front yard. When the mob comes into your neighborhood, they're going to burn down your house. And that's what we're seeing on these basketball courts. I will say, I thought it was awesome when Caitlin Clark's teammate just completely took out the other girl. Hey, this is why I watch hockey. I actually might change my viewership from the NBA to the WNBA, because I'm tired of watching these guys who are 6'7" and 250 pounds flop all over the place. Instead, let's turn on the WNBA. Let's add a little bit of hockey and watch it go to work. I think it could be a good marketing strategy. Maybe they're all in on it, Tomi.
Yeah, and there are folks that go, oh, you know, men do it. You know, I don't watch the NBA either, to be fair, but I don't think that it's the extent of what we're seeing with the cat fighting and the poking of the eye and all that. I mean, that's more of a quintessential feminine thing to do. It's a brawl, it's a cat fight. Maybe it'll work, who knows? Time will tell. They need something. They need to revive it in some way. I don't know what they do, but maybe this is it. I want to talk also about some other news of the week that's really upsetting the left. They're very upset that here in Tennessee, we will not allow children to be mutilated. We will not allow them to be social and scientific experiments for the trans agenda. And, you know, I keep looking at the Democrats tweeting about this and the leftist institutions. Elizabeth Warren keeps tweeting about it. Chuck Schumer here is tweeting about it. And I don't even know if they really believe this, but this whole notion in their mind that you should cut off healthy body parts or you should medicate children so that they do not go through puberty, and you call that health care, I think it's just pure evil. And I don't know if there's really any other way to categorize it.
Well, you've heard the term cutting off your nose to spite your face. They're cutting off other things to spite their so-called lives or livelihoods. Remember, this was in Sotomayor's dissent. You're killing children. It's always dead children everywhere all the time. It's absurd. Okay, let's just cast her aside because she's a lunatic. This is awesome. I'm so excited that the Supreme Court came down this way in Tennessee, because what does it do? It opens the door for every state and every parent to have a larger say in what our medical establishment is doing to our children. Why? Because that principle of federalism built into our Constitution. We know that government works best in communities and on the local level, and pushing this issue more towards the states, letting them be more aggressive, that's major. The other thing that's major, this, in Robert's opinion, which, you know, I feel one day I feel good about Roberts, the next day I feel terrible about the man. What he pointed out was this is not discrimination based on sex, because it does not treat a boy trying to become a girl differently than a girl trying to become a boy. They are treated equally under this. This was the logic of the Bostic decision. This is what gave protected class rights to transgender individuals. And this is the flawed logic of Gorsuch in that opinion. And I think the Supreme Court is signaling that maybe it could be time to revisit that decision only from a few years ago. And I think the American people would be overwhelmingly for revisiting that decision, given what we've seen, what's happened to women's sports, what's continuing to happen to our children, what's continuing to happen in public when people are yelled at or accosted for telling a 6'3", 220-pound man that he has to be a woman. I mean, people are just so sick and tired of it. I'm glad the Supreme Court did this. This opens the door in a major way. At the same time, big, beautiful bill trying to cut off federal funds for transgender surgeries through Medicaid. That creates an environment, I think, where the American people and America's children are going to be much better served by their government. And I hope Republicans all across the country, whether on the local level, state level, federal level, pick up that torch and run with it as far as we possibly can, because we cannot exist as a nation if we deny the fundamental reality of biological sex, of man and female, of the marital unit being that anchor for society, of being the anchor of the family. And if we don't return to that, I think we'll be in a lot of trouble. So kudos to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And I would also add 26 other states are moving forward with similar bans, and good for them. You know, I don't even think this is a left versus right thing. There are not many individuals in this country, I believe, that really, truly to their core believe that minors should have life-altering surgeries or take hormones to prevent puberty for a minor. Even if you are the most LGBTQ, listen, you want everyone to live their lives, don't do it to children. They don't know what they are. They don't know what they want to be. You are medically marring them, debilitating them for the rest of their lives, all in a social experiment. If somebody thinks they're trans and they want to be 25 years old and they want to go chop things off, if they want to pay for it, whatever. But doing it to children is child abuse. And here in Tennessee, you can't even go to a tanning bed if you're under the age of 16. And if you're 16 to 18, you have to have a parent sign off on it so you can go to a tanning bed. A tanning bed. But they want us to believe that children should be able to go and prevent puberty or cut off body parts in order to bend to some kind of a sick social experiment. It just needs to end. And I think 2020 people got high on their own crap. They were drinking their own bathwater. They thought this wokeism was going to last. And, you know, reality set in. We don't do this anymore. But
yeah, I think you make a great point about the 25-year-old, right? Go do it on your own. Have those cosmetic surgeries. Don't you dare put it on the back of the taxpayer. Don't you dare do that. We're not going to be doing that with if this big, beautiful bill gets across the line. And I want to add one more thing on this. President Donald Trump put this all in motion. He created the structures here to make this possible through his judicial appointments, through encouraging Republicans to take up the mantle of social conservatism. And a lot of people have said social conservative values have kind of been on the outs with the Trump campaign in the waning days of 2024 and in his administration so far because of the focus on trade, on immigration, and foreign policy. No, all of these issues are tied together. And the structural advantage that the American people now have in beating back this left-wing radicalism is to the credit of President Donald Trump. And who knows, you know, Clarence Thomas and Justice Alito are getting up there in years. I hope they could stay on I wish they could stay on the court forever and ever. It would be great. But there could be another Supreme Court appointment coming from President Donald Trump in the near future, and it could continue to shape the way this court rules and this nation is governed.
yeah, you're exactly right on that. And when we talk about social conservatism, I got to be honest with you, Bradley. I'm not a social conservative necessarily, not in the traditional sense. I'm just not. And I thought it was a big misstep and mistake to campaign on, you know, banning abortion. I think that's why we lost in 2022, to be honest with you. But what we're doing now is not, in my opinion, social conservatism. It's just common sense. This is not, to me, controversial. It's like men shouldn't be in women's sports. Okay, we shouldn't be paying for trans surgeries for, you know, obviously Medicaid recipients, for illegal aliens. We shouldn't be cutting body parts off of children. This isn't even social conservatism. This is just normalcy, and this is just decency. And that, to me, is what President Trump has put at the forefront. So I'm thankful that, you know, he had to say it. Like, you wouldn't think it would need to be said, unfortunately, because, like I said, of 2020, people getting high on their own fumes, this had to happen. But it's a reset that was needed. Here's another reset that's needed. Oh, New York and California. They go back and forth. LA, New York City. Which one's dumber, right? But you have Governor Kathy Hochul, who has been seeing the attention that Gavin Newsom has been getting, and she wanted a little bit of attention herself. So now, even though her state needs money and a lot of people are going to Florida, she has made the valiant pledge to take care of illegal aliens and their attorneys. Let's take a listen to this one.
We're also concerned about those that are walking out of this courthouse taken away from their families. They don't have the attention. They don't have the lawyers. And that's why the state of New York is providing $50 million to cover legal services for people who are finding themselves in this situation.
$50 million to illegals, and she proudly proclaims it. She's like, we're going to take care of them. Imagine living in New York City, and you're just trying to pay rent to live in a shoebox. And you've already had illegals living at 4- and 5-star hotels, maybe not 5-star, well, maybe some of them 5-star, 4-star hotels paid for by the taxpayer, all their meals paid for, they're getting taken care of, their health care, everything. And then now we're going to go a step further. And you know what? You need a lawyer, you get a lawyer. And don't worry, the New York City residents are going to pay for it. What's going on here?
Yeah, this is just the latest in this long train of abuses from the New York State government. I mean, we know, Kathy Hochul, we know you'll provide for them. You put them all up in hotels to the cost of hundreds of millions of dollars to the residents of New York. And of course, hey, federal government, give me some of that money to do that. Thank you, Joe Biden. We're keeping those borders open. Make sure those people all come to New York City so that they can be counted into the census. And then, of course, our representation on the federal level will increase after the next census. And remember, in 2020, because Cuomo killed all those grandparents in nursing homes because of COVID, their representation actually went down in the federal government. Interesting how this is the game that they're playing.
Yeah.
We should see through it totally. This is, everyone talks about great replacement theory. You know what? They've been saying this openly for years. And if I'm a resident of New York, I'm actually from Southern California, so I know a little bit more about Los Angeles. And I walk in, for example, in my home state of California, and I see that Compton is no longer a majority Black city. It's not. It hasn't been majority Black for decades. This is a massive amount of demographic change. And that churn has actually incentivized some pretty bad folks who live in that area, even Bloods and Crips and gang members, to talk to the local government in Compton and say, hey, we know we're no saints, but these guys, these MS-13 guys, these Tren de Aragua guys, they're really, really bad news. And you guys need to do something about them. That is the level of insanity that we're dealing with. But of course, our lawmakers, what are they going to do? They're going to put their heads in the sand on this because they know it's a pathway to permanent political power. And because they frankly just don't care if you're walking over drug addicts or walking through trash, getting crawled on by rats on your way to work. They don't care about you. And that was made abundantly clear during the coronavirus and during the Biden administration. And that ultimately is what led to the return of President Donald J. Trump, I think.
Yeah, well, and some of these places are just not savable. Like, I just don't think they're ever going to change. People get fed up. The fires, they get fed up. The illegal aliens, they get fed up. But then, you know what? They get a chance to go out and march in the street for some activist cause of the week, and they're back out there doing it. Now, that might not be the majority that are out on the streets, but the majority, they're still voting that way. So it's just better to get to a place that values freedom, that values safety and security. And that's a red state right now. It's definitely not a lot of these blue states. I want to talk a little bit about the heavier news right now that we've got going on and get your take on it, because the way that the media is reporting this is that there's a big split in MAGA world, right? That, MAGA is fractured over the whole Israel-Iran thing. And I don't think it's actually that much of a fracture. I think you've got like a couple of influencers that are on X putting out videos. I don't think that means that there's a big divide. I think a lot of people understand the nuance of the situation and they understand the gravity of the situation. But I'm wondering your take on it. Over this weekend, we might get a bunker bomb dropped. We don't know what's going to happen next. But I want your take on it because there is some disagreement in conservative circles about exactly what the United States should do.
Yeah, and I think they're healthy disagreements because so often our political elite class likes to skim the American people's opinion right off the top and point to a poll and say, see, look at how many people support Iran not getting a nuclear weapon. Of course, we are all in agreement, I think. We do not want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. The question is, what course of action actually leads that to happen? And I think a good example of this is in 1981 when the Israeli government perpetrated a strike against Saddam Hussein's nuclear program when it was kind of in its infancy. And what happened in that situation was Saddam actually brought that nuclear program more underground. Saddam decided that he was going to more relentlessly pursue that program, and it culminated in the invasion of Kuwait. And after the Gulf War, he decided to dismantle it. Of course, American intelligence, flimsy British intelligence brought us back to Iraq in 2003 in the name of weapons of mass destruction. But I think that's a real concern here, is potentially if the United States gets too involved, not only does it put our men and women in uniform at risk at soft targets across the region, it could also lead to Iran pursuing this nuclear weapon in a more covert way. So I think the president
Can they do it, though, if they're broken dead?
If they're broken dead, well, I mean, it depends on what you mean by broken dead. Like the regime falls?
Well, I mean, if they have no money, their program has been completely decimated. We destroy it all. The Fordo, we destroy that. Israel's already doing a lot of that heavy lifting. You know, they got military leaders, they're dead. The replacement, 4 days later, he's dead. Israel's been cleaning house over there, and I support everything that they're doing, by the way. I guess here's where I feel on it. I don't want an endless war. I don't want to rebuild Iran. I don't, that's for them to decide, whatever. And there is a real risk that we run with regime change. Like, we get rid of this guy, well, there's going to be somebody else to fill the void. Maybe it's, a new ISIS. It's whatever other Muslim fundamentalist group that wants to come in and breed terrorism. Like we saw that in Benghazi, right? I don't think anybody wants any part of that. However, my thing of it is, and this is where I struggle, it's like, if we're this close, right, and we can they're always probably going to try to get a nuclear weapon, but if we can set them back a decade, and instead of where they were, which was, in some reports, weeks or months away, is that worthwhile? And could we do it by just dropping a bomb and walking away? I don't know, but I think that's what the president's grappling with right now. And I think it's a fair question.
I think it's totally a fair question to ask. What timeline were we actually working with here? The Israeli government, some of the U.S. intelligence, it's kind of been in conflict, so it's really hard to read the tea leaves of just how close Iran was. Where have they been in the past? What exactly would a strike on Fordow lead to? I'll give you another anecdote from the 1981 strike, which I think is it's apples to oranges, but I think there's real lessons there because you're dealing with a much different regime with Saddam's secular Ba'athist regime versus the Ayatollahs, which is the Shia fundamentalism, et cetera, et cetera. Saddam, though he dismantled a lot of what was going on after 1991, intelligence in 1997 found that Saddam had kept in place a key team of scientists, released some that he actually arrested with his iron fist over that regime, and kept the know-how, kept the documentation. And so I don't really know if there's any way to fully dismantle Iran's nuclear capabilities. What I do think the president is doing is he's using what the Israeli government is doing. He's using our positioned assets in the region, and he's creating leverage. As he said, he's called Israel and Iran to the table. He said, hey, Iran, we want complete surrender here. You will not be getting a nuclear weapon. We've seen reports that the Gulf states and the Israelis and the Iranians even, which would kind of be a modern miracle, could come in and work together on energy level enrichment, making sure that that's locked down. The IAEA did have some problems with the JCPOA, with Iran's handling of the JCPOA in particular, their hard water, for example. They were over those limitations. Some of those facilities weren't always perfect on the checks that the IAEA was doing. But overall, the Iranians were pretty good on their behavior there, though the dumbness, the idiocy of the JCPOA was like, we're going to continue to give you cash so you can fund proxies, and we're not going to put any limitations on your ballistic missiles. All these massive holes in the deal, which Iran was like, that sounds like a good deal, sign me up for it. The point being here is that all this is to say there are ways that I think you can make sure that Iran does not pursue a nuclear weapon through a properly designed deal. And I think that deal is going to have to not only involve the United States as peacemaker, but also the Israelis, the Gulf states, etc. So we'll see where it goes from here. I do not want a regime change war. I think a lot of people don't want a regime change war in a country with 92 million people. We don't know how that's going to turn out. We can't have a country turn into Syria that's 5 times larger. It's a bad situation. And pray for the president, because he needs the hand of God, and he needs prudence right now more than anything else. And I think he's handling it well.
Yeah, I think he is too, not making any rash decisions. I support whatever he decides to do. I don't want another endless war. The last thing he wants is another endless war. But I think right now he's just weighing, and he's got much more information than we do. But I trust that he will make the right decision. And shame on the people, by the way, who are so-called Trump supporters, who are going out saying, I don't support you anymore, or, this is the worst thing that could have ever happened, and you're, this and that. It's like, listen. You people podcast for a living, okay? He's the president of the United States. He's the commander-in-chief. We're not having podcasters decide our national security tactics. So he needs to do what he needs to do. I trust him to make that decision. The podcasters and the pundits and the people that make money off of ad share revenue, in my opinion, can go where the sun don't shine, okay? Shut up.
Yeah, it's a nerve-wracking situation, but a lot of these folks have gotten way out over their skis, right? War with Iran. Like, I'm nervous about war with Iran too, but that hasn't happened yet. And that's the phase that we're entering here. And so all you can do is hope for prudence on behalf of the America's political class. You can hope that President Trump follows in the footsteps of George Washington, stays away from permanent alliances, keeps in mind Thomas Jefferson's teachings about entangling alliances and sending troops abroad, keeping troops abroad, right? He brings back home American troops after the Barbary Wars, etc. And so that's what we can hope for the president, is that he follows in the path of our greatest statesman and knows appropriate and proportional uses of American military force or not.
Yeah. I trust his decision making. I trust the people that he has around him for the most part. I trust Pete Hegseth, and I trust that they do not want to be in an endless war. And that's not the typical Republican neocon, let's get into another war, let's make the defense contractors rich. I don't think that's anywhere near where this administration stands. And I'm putting a lot of confidence in his decision making. So I'm going to wait and see what he does, and I'm going to support him, because at the end of the day, I do a show on digital, and I am not a national security advisor. So it would be out of my place to start telling the president what he should do.
We could start campaigning for you.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't, I understand, I think that people that do this kind of thing for a living, they're wise to understand that we all have opinions, and we all have hopes, and we all have, agendas that we would like to see fulfilled, and we can express those opinions. That's what we do for a living. But people who purport to be national security or diplomatic experts that do podcasting for a living, that have no experience in it, who have never been to war, who don't understand the intricacies of it, I think that they're out of their place to do so. And share your opinion all you want. That's what we get paid to do. But at the end of the day, I think you defer to these experts to make the best decision. But that's just me understanding, where I fit in the ecosystem. And I wish that more Trump supporting conservatives would understand their place as well. But whatever, it's a free country. I appreciate you, though, and all of your historic knowledge that you've shared with us. Make sure you go out and get yourself a Labubu doll. I think that could really bring us lasting world peace.
I think Labubu dolls will be part of the Iranian nuclear deal. Thank you, Tomi. And yeah, all we can do is try to inform the American people to the best of our ability.
Absolutely. All right. Well, God bless you. Have a fantastic weekend. Happy Juneteenth. Thank you for coming to work today. And I will talk to you soon.
Thanks, Tomi. Bye.
Folks, that does it for this episode of Tomi Lahren is Fearless. I also want to say tomorrow is the third year anniversary of this show. So thank you to all who watch, also especially those who have watched right from the jump. I appreciate you so deeply. Thank you as well to Fox News and Outkick for running the show. You don't want to miss tomorrow's special episode, all right? It is not only the third year anniversary, but it is an episode that I am so proud of, and I'm proud of all the episodes, but this one, seriously, watch it. It's a documentary, all right? There's documentary filmmakers that I have on this show. They are behind the forthcoming 7-part series, The Religion Business. They join me to break down in great and also disturbing detail just how dirty the business of religion has become in America. The revelations exposed will leave your jaw on the floor. My jaw was literally on the floor for this episode. So make sure you're watching tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern on Outkick, Fox Nation, foxnews.com. You can also catch full episodes on YouTube at Tomi Lahren is Fearless. From Nashville, God bless and take care. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want more of my hottest takes, must-see conversations, and of course, my final thoughts, click here and make sure you subscribe here so you never miss a beat. I'll be here every weekday, and I hope you'll join me.